All right, good afternoon, ladies. Woo, oh, I got friends, thank you. It's good to be here and to have this opportunity. I am Karima Amin, I'm a native Buffalonian. I am a retired Buffalo Public School educator. I'm a mother, I'm a drummer, I'm an author, I'm a community activist and a storyteller. And whenever I encounter a story that really strikes a chord with me, I know that that's a story I need to share. And this is one of those. There was this woman who, when she looked out of her bedroom window one morning, noticed that it was a beautiful day. Sky was blue, the sun was bright, and she said, I'm gonna make a great day. She went into the bathroom, and when she switched on the light, she saw in the mirror that she only had 3 hairs on her head. 3 hairs? What can I do about this? And she thought in the next moment, I'll make a braid. And that's what she did. She braided those 3 strands and went out to make a good day and to handle her business. But there were those on the sidelines who pointed at her and laughed at her and made jokes and called her names, but she cast that aside. She made a good day. A few weeks later, same woman looked out of her bedroom window, and what a glorious day it was. Birds were singing, flowers were blooming. She said, I'm gonna make a great day. She went to the bathroom and saw that she only had 2 hairs. 2 hairs on her head. What could I do about this? In the next moment, she made a part with 1 hair going this way and the other hair going the other way. She looked kind of cute, and she went out to handle her business and to make a great day. There were naysayers on the sidelines, laughing and pointing and calling her names and cracking jokes. She cast that aside, had a great day. A few weeks later, that same woman looked out of her bedroom window and, oh, what a beautiful day it was, absolutely gorgeous. She said, I'm gonna make a fantastic day. And when she went into the bathroom, she saw in the mirror she only had 1 hair. Only 1. I can make a ponytail. And she did. Got a yellow ribbon, tied it on, and went out to make a fantastic day. But there were those, of course, who laughed and called her names and made fun of her. She didn't pay that any attention. A few weeks later, the same woman looked out of her bedroom window, and what a glorious day it was. I'm gonna make this day fantabulous. She went into the bathroom, and when she switched on the light, there in the mirror she saw she had no hair. She said, well, at least I don't have to worry about how I'm gonna fix my hair today. And she went out and had a marvelous day. But there were those who laughed and those who pointed and those who cracked jokes and said some wicked things. She didn't pay that any attention. She had a wonderful, wonderful day, probably the best of her life. There is a space between what we think of ourselves and what we can do and what others think they know about us when they look at us. My mother and my father knew a little bit about how to navigate that space, and they taught some wonderful lessons. Here's my mother, born in 1915, Bessie Mabry, born poor and black in the Jim Crow South. She came to Buffalo in the 1930s looking for a better life. Having limited education, she was the help in the relatively wealthy homes of white people. She cooked, she cleaned, she sometimes did laundry. And she learned very quickly that Jim Crow didn't just live in the South. There was a little bit of Jim Crowism in Buffalo too. But she never let anyone disrespect her or trample on her dignity. My mother always said, I love me some me. And if loving herself meant that she lost a job here or there, so she lost a job. But she never lost the dignity or the respect that she deserved. I remember being in kindergarten when my mother got her 8th grade education. So it was difficult finding work here in the Jim Crow Buffalo. But she did a pretty good job, and she taught my sisters and me to love ourselves and to celebrate our dignity and our worth. When I would go to my mother crying about feeling bad about something someone had said about me or feeling bad because someone had hurt my feelings, my mother would say, I love me some me, and you should too. And then she would say, girl, go somewhere and sit down and be quiet. I thought my mother was being mean, but she wasn't being mean. She was giving me an opportunity to sit in the silence and to get in touch with that part of me where self-love dwells. Sometimes we women are so busy, we don't take the time to sit down, be quiet, and to learn something about ourselves in the silence. That silence is important. I love me some me, and you should too. That's my father, Harvey Aiken, born in 1916, who also came to Buffalo in the 1930s looking for work and opportunity. My dad didn't go any further than grade 3, but to this day, I've never met a smarter man. My father found work as a short order cook, truck driver, and a cab driver. And he also served in the Army during World War II. He encountered racism too and tough times in the Jim Crow Buffalo. But you know, my dad was the one who always said, there are no bad days, only good days and better days. I remind myself of all of this when I find myself in a position to make a difficult decision. I have to remember how important it is to love myself, to never let anyone trample on my dignity or self-respect, and to realize when you make a decision, it may look bad, but it never really is bad. I know you said it, things could be worse. Well, I like to say what my father said, there are no bad days, only good days and better days. My mother and my father, on the day after their wedding, they married in 1944. The war ended in 45. I was born in 47, and they bought a house in 54. My mother and my father bought a house in the Hamlin Park section of Buffalo. And I don't know how many of you remember White Flight, but I remember White Flight and a few other things that kind of made me feel small and maybe a little worth less. But my mother and my father always reminded me to always, always, always love yourself, put God first, but love yourself. And when it comes time to make a decision, find in loving yourself that there's power. And in that power, then there is courage. And in that courage, there is action. And there's nothing you can't do or be. My mother and my father were wonderful people who gave us tremendous survival tools. And I still say the best two was learning to love myself and to make difficult decisions believing that it was going to be all right. I was married for 12 years, 6 good years, 6 lousy years, and domestic violence was a part of it. I ended up in a coma. Obviously, I survived. And during the months of my recovery, I had a chance to sit in the quiet, to sit in the silence, and to get back to that part of myself that says, I love me some me, and you should too. When I decided to leave my teaching position after 25 years with the Buffalo Public Schools, it was a hard decision. I love teaching, I love my students. But teaching in the public school arena was no longer feeding my spirit. It was time to go. I loved me some me. So I made the decision to be a storyteller, full-time professional storyteller. People thought that was crazy. You got 3 children and no man. How are you going to make enough money to take care of yourself and your children? I believed I could. It was the self-love and the belief that God comes first, love yourself, and even when it looks bad, there are no bad days, only good days and better days. My daughter, older daughter, attended what was considered to be one of the best high schools in the city of Buffalo. I made the decision after some mishaps that I have no time to go into that I was going to take her out. People couldn't believe it, but I did take her out and I homeschooled her. She got her PhD last year and now she teaches at the University of North Carolina. and things are good. So I say to you, to all of you, women and a few men in the room, don't hesitate to love yourselves. Say it loudly, say it clearly. I love me some me. Thank you all very much for listening.
Thank you.